Do I sound like I'm joking? Do I sound like I'm playing? When you look into my eyes, you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it to you slowly, and it may sound scandalous. I don't think that you can handle this.
All right, once again, we are on. I am the TheMoJoKing. He is the great Donnie Oooh, and we are Hidden Gems Football, brought to you by the mighty 19 Media Group. How are you today, Mr. Oooh?
Doing pretty good. How are you, Mo? How's everything?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all these trades that happen and trying to figure out what in the world is happening with basketball in Brooklyn. I'm hoping you will help me out with the trades because I don't want to talk about Brooklyn basketball.
Oh, no.
But first, let's not talk about it. But first, here is a quick breakdown of what you can expect to hear on today's podcast. Hidden Gems Football is divided into 3 sections. In section 2, we will talk about this week's upcoming Thursday night game. We'll discuss what we think are the keys to the game and maybe make a prediction or two. Then, in section 3, we will turn our attention to the Sunday games. We will discuss the sure thing, absolutely cannot lose selections for the week. 3 games are pretty clear this week out front. But will we lock those in as survivor picks? Or will Donnie find us a long shot to pivot to when all the favorites fall on their face? But before we do that, we have section 1, and that is the one thing that caught Donnie's attention this week. So, what do you have for us?
Okay, well, you did make passing reference to the cavalcade of trades that happened during the trading deadline Tuesday afternoon. And instead of going down one by one and listing them like I would normally do, no. I'm going to pick one because this is Donnie's one thing, right? So the trade that piqued my interest the most was an intra-division trade between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings, in which the Lions sent tight end T.J. Hawkinson to Minnesota in exchange for a couple draft picks. But we're not talking about compensation here. No, we're talking about impact. And I personally believe out of all the trades that happened yesterday, I'm not talking about the ones that happened prior to that, this has the potential to have the biggest impact. And I'm going to concentrate on the Minnesota side because Detroit, executing this trade to me makes me believe that Detroit's like, all right, we're 1-6. We're not as close as we thought we were going to be. So maybe we need to get some draft capital so we can try to go up and running next year where all our skill position players are going to be intact. But for Minnesota is 6-1 right now. They're running away with the NFC North division. I believe they have a 3-game lead or the closest competitor, which would be the 3-4 Green Bay Packers. Minnesota has Thielen and Jefferson on the outside. They have Dalvin Cook in the backfield. And unfortunately, they still have Kirk Cousins as their quarterback. But this trade to acquire such a high-end tight end should be in Kirk Cousins' favor because if you look at his track record, going back to Washington, he utilizes the tight end very well. I believe when he was in Washington, when they went under a former name, one of his go-to receivers is Jordan Reed. And the reason you don't probably remember Jordan Reed because unfortunately a lot of knee injuries, I believe, cut his career short. So if you add Hawkinson to that offense, I believe Hawkinson is going to be a high-end fantasy play, even though this is not a fantasy show. I believe but the reason I bring the fantasy aspect in is because just the amount of production I believe he's going to give that team from that position. Also, when Kirk Cousins first arrived in Minnesota, he utilized the tight end position very well in Kyle Rudolph. And coincidentally, when they had Kyle Rudolph and he was able to utilized him effectively, they did make the postseason. So I believe this was one of those moves that Minnesota's like, you know what? We're up 3. We have a chance to really put a lock on this division and make a meaningful run in the postseason, and they pulled the trigger. So I think that has the most potential to be the most impact trade that happened at the trade deadline.
I do have a question for you about that trade. Now,
Okay.
you said it's the most impactful. At 6-1, I would think that Minnesota is close to a lock to get in the playoffs. Do you think that they now can make a serious run at the Super Bowl?
Looking at the landscape in the NFC, even though Philadelphia is undefeated and by most they have the best roster in the league, I still believe the NFC is wide open, and Minnesota has as good a chance of coming out the NFC as anyone, even though they did lose to Philly earlier this season. But once again, that was earlier this season. Team wasn't fully formed. And now you add this cog into that potent offense as is. I don't see why they would think otherwise.
All right, fair enough. I like it. All right, let's move on to section number 2. And that will be the Thursday night game. This game, like most Thursday night games, may not be very interesting, but for different reasons. We have the Philadelphia Eagles going to play the Houston Texans in Houston. Philadelphia is a 14-point favorite at the moment. The total is expected to be 45.5. So to give you an idea, Vegas is saying that the score will be Philadelphia 29.75 versus Houston 15.75. Almost 30 points they expect Philadelphia to score this week. All right. As far as injuries, Philly's coming into this week mostly healthy with all their important pieces, while Houston has a couple of injuries. One of them's very interesting, and the other one is interesting because the first one's interesting. Disgruntled wide receiver Brandon Cooks did not practice due to a sore wrist and personal reasons. Nobody's sure if he's going to play on Thursday night or not.
He has a sore rear end.
All right, we'll get to that in a second. That makes the Nico Collins injury also a wide receiver. He did not practice. He has a groin injury, and he is unlikely to play Thursday, which means that the Texans will be very thin at wide receiver. And you kind of feel like they would need as much help as possible this week. Donnie, is there any chance that Philadelphia loses? And what do you think about that point spread?
There's no way in hell Philadelphia losing. None. Like, I'm going to take y'all behind the curtain, behind my curtain, because I can't really speak for my partner. My partner? Yeah, him. This is the first time that I'm looking at the slate of games whatsoever. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's actually the Thursday night game. And it should be a 20-point spread because, like you said, you have a disgruntled receiver that's upset about his current standing on the team, being the fact that he's still on the team. And you mentioned the injury to the other what you call productive receiver. And pretty much you got Davis Mills. Like, Davis Mills is actually, tell you the truth, and this is not to go on a tangent, but out of the class of 2021, Davis Mills might be the most prolific out of all the quarterbacks that were drafted. I'm sorry. But regardless, you have Jalen Hurts leading this high-flying offense to a 7-0 record so far. And you really think they're going to get their first loss in Texas, in Houston against the Texans? They're lucky they're not 1-6. They're lucky they're not 0-7. This is not a game that really piques my interest. So, yeah, Eagles all the way. Once again, fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah, Eagles. Eagles.
Yeah, I have to agree with you because everything is stacking up for Philly. When I first looked at it, I wanted to say, well, Houston keeps playing teams tight, right? But then I took a closer look. they've only played two teams that I would consider good offenses, and I put that in quotation marks. They gave up 34 to the Chargers when Herbert was still healthy. And then they gave up 38 to the Raiders, who should be good. They haven't really played up to what you expected of them. But those two games kind of show me that Philadelphia has a good chance they will blow the doors off. So, like you pointed out, I think I might go with Philly even if they were 19-point favorites. So I feel pretty comfortable with that 14. My only real question is the over-under. I wonder if the Texans will score enough garbage time points to get the total over, because I do feel like they love to score late and make the game look closer than it was. So I'm definitely taking Philly. I want to take Philly in the under, but I'm worried about it. I'm a little worried about it. I'll probably just stick with Philly.
Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that the Eagles defense, even though, like I said, they're very talented, but do you believe the Eagles defense is disciplined enough to fully shut them out the whole game? Because, I mean, from my recollection, from my memory, a lot of the Eagles games, they race out to these big leads. And then toward the middle of the third quarter into the fourth quarter, they gradually, I won't say take their foot off the pedal, but they're not as sharp as they were when they accumulated their 20-some point lead. So with the Texans having nothing to play for, and you have inner turmoil going on in the wide receiver room, do you think that Philly will be disciplined enough to really just snuff them out and pretty much take their 1-2 and just make them lay down?
That's an interesting point, because I hadn't really thought about it from the Philly side. Teams do tend to lighten up at the end when, they got the game wrapped up. They're not really too worried about it. All right, let's just make sure they don't get big, quick scores. That makes me another reason to be cautious about it. But like you said, that controversy in the locker room, I wonder if this is now the thing that breaks them. Because I don't know, when I'm 20, 25 points down in the fourth, I don't know how hard I'm going to want to play. But Houston's always been dedicated to keep it up. I don't know if they're going to keep it up this time.
Yeah, I think this is really going to come down to the experience and the steadying hand of Lovie Smith to keep that team together in another lost season. Because this is Lovie Smith's first year. Unfortunately, is continuing the pattern of putting African-American head coaches in positions not to succeed, just to pretty much hold the fort down until we get the reinforcements, until we get the optimum coach for the optimum talent. But I believe with Lovie Smith at the helm, things won't descend too far. I just wanted to put that out there.
All right, yeah. We talked about coaching last week. That's a credit to the coach that they have been staying in these games to fight. They just completely overmatched this time. I am the Mojo King. He is the great Willie Freeman. And together we are Hip Hop Hidden Gems.
Hip Hop Hidden Gems is a podcast where we celebrate the golden age of hip hop and take a deep dive into artists you probably know and love, but focus on songs you might not be as familiar with. We analyze the gems from two unique perspectives. Sometimes we'll focus on a single verse, other times an entire song. Past episodes include Gangstar, Chino XL, Digital Underground, Scarface, and Big Daddy Kane.
So if you're a hip hop head or just love listening to two brilliant minds, check out Hip Hop Hidden Gems. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google, and any platform you choose.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, we are back. And we're moving to section 3, the survivor picks. Now, we actually talked about probably one of the primary games already on Thursday. If you want to pick early, it seems like Philadelphia is a perfect target. I have 2 more games that have huge spreads that I have a feeling that Donnie Oooh may have an opinion on. First up, The Buffalo Bills are 12.5-point favorites going to New York to play the Jets. No Breece Hall. Zach Wilson was horrible last week. What's your take on this one, Donnie?
You know, when we first started talking about the Thursday night game, and I told y'all this first time I'm looking at the slate of games, and first thing that pops up, because my team of choice is the Bills and the Jets, and the Bills are favored by 13. And I really don't have a leg to stand on to say that that's not correct. I'm going to take my bias off. Zach Wilson was horrible last week, like horrible. I watched the game from opening kickoff to the final gun. And I can truthfully say, yeah, there was a lot of things that the Jets messed up. But if they had a competent quarterback, there's no way in heck that we would have lost to New England. We're a better team than New England. We're just better. We're not better than Buffalo at all. And I think a combination of our struggles on offense, missing Breece Hall, our quarterback situation, the fact that his mechanics are all screwed up. He's always throwing off his back foot. Even when he has time, he runs into pressure. He creates pressure. He spins around like a top. Then he always pretty much rolls to the sideline, cuts half the field off, and then flings it off one foot. Until that's corrected, we're going to have problems. Now, focusing in on this game, because I had to get my little rant off, I really don't see any type of avenue that the Jets are going to win this game. Being the fact that we are a young team, we do have veteran pieces, but I believe we're probably top 5 in youngest teams in the league. Yeah, I could truly see them getting blown out and embarrassed and going into their bye week licking their wounds and trying to set up for the 7-game stretch run. But yeah, I would have to go against the Bills, against my heart. But I have to go with the Bills. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The loss of Breece Hall is huge. I think this would be a much different game if Breece Hall was still there. The thing about Zach Wilson last week that bothered me was the Patriots, Belichick has a way of doing that to young quarterbacks. So if I just looked at the box score, I'd be like, it's Belichick. Belichick got him. But every single one of those mistakes wasn't because of some interesting defense. It was because Zach Wilson continues to know he's about to get hit. And instead of getting rid of the ball, throwing it out of bounds, he throws it right into traffic. Every single time. And he's been doing this. He did it in his rookie year, and he's been doing it ever since. And I don't understand when it's going to stop. That I said, I called him a rude name on Twitter last week watching the game. And I should not have used that term, but his actions, not him, but his actions are idiotic. And until I could see him not have actions that are idiotic during the game in key moments, I can't see them beating a significant real team, and clearly Buffalo is. So
it's ego. It's ego. It comes down to ego. He plays hero ball instead of taking what the defense gives him. If the player's not there, throw the ball away, punt, play field position. No, he thinks, well, I'm home. We're not all black. You know, this is homecoming. We got all this going on. We're going against the Patriots. I got to win the game. But yeah, it's ego. I'll leave it at that because we'll be here until tomorrow, me ranting about my Jets.
All right. Ladies and gents, don't forget that Donnie Oooh has the podcast, The Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh. And I feel like he's probably going to go off on that one. All right. We're moving on over here. All right. Tennessee Titans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City is a 12.5-point favorite. This is the Sunday night game, I believe. The big question here is Tannehill going to play? Is he going to be the quarterback for the Titans, or are we going to see another week of Malik Willis? Now, they did win last week, but it was against the Houston Texans. They scored 17 points. Malik Willis, who is a fantastic runner as far as a quarterback, threw 7 for 14 for a total, get this, Donnie, 61 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. If Malik Willis is starting, I might put all my money on Kansas City. What you say?
I would have to agree. They're just not going to have the firepower to keep up with Kansas City. At first, I was thinking, I'm like, well, but I forget that when it comes to survival pools, we're using the spread to locate our favorites, but it's not against the spread. Like, I would be tempted if this was against the spread to put money on Tennessee, because they'll try to cut the game and just feed Henry all day.
Wait. Against the spread, either quarterback.
I would be tempted just based on my philosophy of how these primetime games always ends up being a little bit wonky. It's like, I want to say since the beginning of the season, we haven't had that many high scoring primetime games. We've had a couple, non-competitive games, but they haven't been real like blowouts. So that's why I said if I was betting against the spread. But straight up, there's no way Kansas City's losing with Malik Willis behind center because they just don't have enough firepower. So I'll go Kansas City.
All right, I'm with you on that. All right, we went through the big 3 games, and it would seem like most sensible people would pick one of those 3 games. I did forget to mention before, as far as last week went, only 7% of entries into the Survivor contest actually got eliminated because literally all the favorites won. So I think Tampa Bay and a couple other teams were like 1%, less than 2% owned, and they lost, and that's what piled up into about 7%. I get the strategy of taking the seemingly certain picks because you eliminate so many people if they're wrong. Last week I took Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia was 33% owned. If they lost, that's a whole huge chunk out of there. So I get the idea of swerving off of the main picks. But usually the main picks are there for a reason. They are the main picks for a reason. But now, after looking at those first 3 games, there are 3 other games that have at least a spread of at least 5. So out of these games, let's see which ones you like, Donnie. Indianapolis Colts, they're 3-4-1. They're going to New England to play the Patriots, who are 4-4. The Patriots are 5.5-point favorites. The Carolina Panthers are 2-6. They are going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, who are 4-4. The Bengals are 7.5-point favorites. And then you have the Miami Dolphins going to the Chicago Bears. The Dolphins are 5-3. The Bears are 3-5. The Dolphins are 5-point favorites on the road. Do you like any of these 3 games? Would you think about using them as survivor picks?
Dolphins and the Bears one, I would stay away from personally because the Bears are so schizophrenic. You go to New England on Monday night, you pretty much blow the doors off of them, and then you turn that around with a putrid performance against Dallas. Miami, it's my bias speaking, I just don't particularly like Miami. So I would stay away from them. The second one you're talking about, the Colts and the Patriots, same premise. freaking Patriots. But as much as I would like to pick against the Patriots, the Colts have quarterback problems. I don't remember how well Sam Ettinger did last week, but I'm quite sure
He
he
didn't do
didn't
much.
do that great. And I'm quite sure Matt Ryan's probably like, y'all put over me? Wow. So I guess the third one would be the one I would be focusing in on. Cincinnati and Carolina. Carolina is 2-6. They should have won last week. They should be in a tie for first place in the division last week. And you know who messed that up for Carolina? DJ Moore. Walker threw a Hail Mary with less than 20 seconds remaining. DJ Moore gets behind the defense and gets a touchdown. And what does he do in his celebration? Like he's not a veteran? 15-yard penalty. Remember, the extra point is not a chip shot anymore. The regular extra point is a 33-yard field goal. You add 15 yards to that, you have a 48-yard field goal for an extra point. And of course, what does Carolina do? Miss. They go into overtime. And the Atlanta Falcons, they won. So Panthers, like I said, they should be tied for first. But Cincinnati, on the other hand, just got embarrassed in Cleveland this past Monday night. And dare I say exposed, because Joe Burrow didn't look that great without Jamar Chase, did he? Now, that's not to me, that's not an excuse, because they have weapons all over that offense. You got Mixon, you got Higgins, you got Boyd. But the go-to man, and evidently the man that makes that offense run, is Jamar Chase. So with that being said, matter of fact, yeah, I'll go with Carolina. I'm going with Carolina. No, which car? To be serious, I believe Carolina is rallying behind their coach, Steve Wilkes. I believe he has that team playing hard, albeit not really smart, because they would have got a victory if they were playing smart with high IQ, but they're playing hard. They beat Tampa, and they should have beat Atlanta. I believe you keep it moving. The Bengals are very vulnerable. If you're going, and it's not like they're a juggernaut to begin with. Like, yeah, they made the Super Bowl, but there was a lot of things that fell into place for Cincinnati to get to that Super Bowl. So, yeah, I don't think it's that much of a, outlandish pick. I'm going Carolina because nobody else would.
Yeah, I can't agree with you on that as far as which one to pick. I would stay away from this game, honestly, because while I don't fully endorse everything you're saying there, you do make some good points. PJ Walker, I'm a little bit biased towards him because he's an XFL player, and I just love seeing them shine in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Jamar Chase being gone is huge for Cincinnati, and you saw it last week. I still think they probably win, but I wouldn't pick them as Survivor. If I was going to pick any of these three games, which I won't because I will use the three primary ones, I would probably go with the Patriots. And I think last week I mentioned that I actually thought that Indianapolis was going to be pretty good with the new quarterback. But the problem is they're facing Belichick this week. He devours rookie quarterbacks, especially one with so little experience. So I think the Colts are going to bounce back eventually. I don't think it's going to be this week. So if I was going to take any of those games, I would take the Patriots. But that's it. I think we are done. Oh, you got another
one thing to add.
All right.
I have one bonus pick.
All right.
And that would be, I'm looking at the Los Angeles Chargers visiting the aforementioned Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, it's not a big spread. The Chargers are favored by 3 on the road. I do not trust the Chargers whatsoever. And it's not even so much the players on the Chargers that I don't trust. I don't trust their coach, Staley. Staley has cost them game after game after game because he wants to go for it on 4th down, on their own 30. He wants to eschew kicking the field goal and overtime that can put them in the playoffs. He wants to do all type of stupid crap every game. And a lot of times it bites them in the ass. And I feel like these prime years, these prime formative years of Justin Herbert are being wasted due to Staley's incompetence. So, plus, and I believe Atlanta is riding some momentum. So, if you're looking for a sleeper pick, Atlanta over the Chargers. That's Donnie's pick of the week. Part 2.
All right. Donnie the Wild Man. He loves those dogs.
But I will say, and not to toot our own horn, but I'm tooting. Toot, toot. You know, Hidden Gems football has been ahead of the curve on a lot of things. All this love for Geno Smith. I think we gave him love last week.
I did not.
All the potential problems with Tampa and Green Bay. We was on it from, I believe, episode number 1. So, if you want to be in a know for stuff that's going to happen, check in. Hidden Gems football every Thursday. I just had to get that off my chest. I had to talk my ish.
Well, I'm not arguing with you. We're pretty good. All right. Now, I think you had a preemptive strike there, but I was going to roll it to you for the outro.
You always catch me off guard with this. We're going to try to keep it short this week because a lot of things are going to probably end up on the editing floor. But check out TheMoJoKing, the Hidden Gem czar himself, for his 2 other Hidden Gems productions. Yes. Check out the fellow 19 Media Group podcast. You have the NBA Baseline. You have Gimmick Infringement. Gimmick Infringement is also a double dipper with their Pillcast. I believe we're in week 3, so that means part 3 of the Pillcast. Amongst all the various amounts of podcasts and videos that you can access on the 19 Media Group YouTube page, and they're also in audio form on all streaming platforms wherever podcasting is available. Did I leave anything out, Mo, when it comes to the 19 Media Group and their?
Oh yeah, well you left out plenty, but we do have to get to the end.
Okay, so last but not least, check out my podcast, The Salty Thoughts of Donnie Oooh. Drops every Wednesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm. Check out my YouTube page. Mike Steph.
Is you making Good Pods?
Oh, yeah. Good Pods. Check all of us out on Good Pods. The premier podcasting app. And, yeah. So I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to leave it nice and short and sweet this week. Oh, by the way, and I don't even know if this is going to happen, but check out The Elders EP with myself and Jay Furman dropping this Friday, November 4th. The Elders EP, Jay Furman and myself, Donnie Oooh, dropping this Friday, November 4th, exclusively on the Bandcamp app. Yeah.
Donnie, is that Bandcamp Friday?
Yes, it is. Bandcamp Friday. So get your coin ready.
All right, guys. Listen, Bandcamp Friday is very special because Bandcamp takes away their fees, so more money goes directly to the artists, and that is where the money should go.
Yes,
so
right in my pocket.
Right in his pocket. Down below, in case you want any merch, we will show you how to get to Donnie Ooh's merchandise and to 19 Media Group's merchandise. Buy yourself a shirt.
Buy the shirt. Buy a hat. Buy a hoodie. Please support, regardless.
Yeah,
Support
buy a hoodie.
is always needed.
Global warming only lasts so long. All right, Donnie, the last words, please.
Okay. Well, Hidden Gems football. It's a part of the 19 Media Group. Goodbye.
This is a 19 Media Group presentation.
Hip Hop Hidden. I did say Hip Hop Hidden Gems. That's crazy. Hidden Gems Golf is. I told you I'm tired.
Got too many damn hidden gems, brother.
I said all of them. I'm going through the whole list. I'm going to start making up some. All right.
Hidden gems fornication.